Shadows Literary License podcast episodes. Ben Stokes here, exploring all things Collinsport, Maine, and following the likes of the Collins family, and the friends and foes, with your co-hosts, Tom Diamond, Jesse Fultz, Vicky Ray, and Keith Chalgo, Collins family, story about blood relations, literally.
Hello, welcome to the True License Podcast. This is Dark Shadows Week. We'll be discussing episodes from April to May 1970, which would include episodes 983 to 125. And before we get started, let's find out who's with us. We got special guest Patrick McCray with us. Hello, Patrick.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
It's good to be here.
We have our regular co-host, Vicky Ray. Hello, Vicky.
Hi, everybody.
And your regular co-host, myself, which is Keith Chalgo. Tom Diamond is in cahoots, and he may be joining us. And if he doesn't, we wish him the best. So before we get started, let's find out what we've been up to since last time we spoke. Starting with you, Patrick, what have you been up to since last time you came on our show?
Last time I came on the show was in the middle of the pandemic, I think.
Yeah.
Since then, wrote the Dark Shadows Daybook, or compiled the Dark Shadows Daybook. Had some hilarious attempts at doing an audio book. I'm going to be back at that this summer.
Define hilarious.
They're not easy. They're especially when you write like me. They're not easy. Sometimes they were too fast. Sometimes they were too slow. Getting that pace down is not an easy thing to do. And then finding a space to do it, you literally wind up in the closet.
No kidding. I didn't even think of that.
But when it is done, it will be not only spectacular, but it'll be done with Catherine Lee Scott's own equipment.
Really?
That she used to record all of the Marilyn Ross books, I believe. So she was she's been a real advocate, and she helped me out with those, and that was great. So I'm all set up that way, if only I can get the talent to match. And I also am putting the finishing touches on Dark Shadows Daybook Unchained, which is the second of the Daybook compilations. And I'm trying to put a lot of new things into it and extra essays. So we got our fingers crossed on that.
That's awesome.
And what about yourself, Vix? What have you been up to?
Not a whole lot, really. It's just trying to... I've been just doing a lot of gardening. Asher's been doing soccer, and we got BMX starting again. And I don't know if he's really wanting to race that much this year, but just making plans to go home and see the family. I haven't really been watching a whole lot. Well, actually, I was watching like the last 5 episodes of Stranger Things because today is the day, is it not?
Oh yeah, I guess it is.
Today's the day. And I'm wondering if they're going to meet it out like all the episodes, or one a week or something to just torture me that way. But we'll see what happens, because I'm really excited to see it, because I just love it. I can't wait to see how, I kind of figured that Hopper's still alive. I'm crossing my fingers, but we'll see how it goes. You know how sad it was at the end. Everybody left and whatnot. And I tried to watch the new Candyman. I tried so hard. I kept falling asleep. I like the old one better. I tried.
I do too. Let me ask you, speaking of Netflix, have you seen Archive 81?
No, but I heard of it. Somebody else asked me that the other day going on the forums.
Best horror I've seen in years. Really? Good. Yes, marvelous.
I'll have to check it out. I someone else asked me about that, and I saw it. Was that on Netflix?
Yes.
I saw it, and I kind of buzzed past it. I ended up watching, I watched Joe Bob last Friday. Actually, that was one of the best Joe Bobs that he ever had. I learned a lot about certain cinema and certain things that went on, like behind the filming of Nosferatu and stuff like. There's a whole bunch of crap. I had no idea what was going on back then. It was really kind of fascinating to hear how this stuff really came to be. And then in turn, Vampire came out, or Vampire with a Y, how you ever want to say it. But it was one of his best episodes. I really enjoyed it. But other than that, not a whole lot. Just hanging in there with everybody else. What about you?
Basically been working a lot, and we have an outbreak of monkeypox here, so been dealing with
I
that.
heard. We got
So,
Legionnaire's disease now too over here.
Yeah, well, this one, I mean, the thing is, this is it's spreading quite quickly here, but it's more viral, and I think it seems to be affecting the gay community quite.
That's
badly.
what they were saying. Is as if the gay community really needs any more singling out.
Well, I think it's because I think it's going. It's being spread through. It's a viral infection, so it's
right
through bodily fluids and
right,
and
right,
so on and so forth. So yeah, so there's always going to be a little element of that anyway. But
right.
I mean, the good thing is that you don't die from it. It's like having really bad chicken pox, but instead of the chicken pox, you have boils that kind of.
That looks painful. I wonder if it's like painful. Is it painful?
Well, it's just very scratchy and itchy and uncomfortable and so on and so forth, like chicken pox for adults.
Right. I don't remember when I had them. I just remember having them.
I mean, when they set me up on the ward, I did kind of make an idiot of myself because they go, can you go to the monkeypox ward? I said, sure, I'll go up there.
The monkeypox ward.
And I said, isn't this a bit racist? And they go, what do you mean? I go, well, come from Africa and you're calling it monkeypox. I go, Roseanne Barr lost her job because of it. They go, no, it's actually caused from monkeys. I said, okay, that's fine. So I'm like, why did he get the name monkeypox? I was like, oh, but yeah. So anyway, it's so just dealing with that. Then of course, like I'm flying up next tomorrow to do a talk, and then of course that will be done, and then yeah, I'm just getting stuff here and there, so I've been quite busy with that. So I'll be back on to a regular schedule very, very soon. So
I figured you're busy. You're very quiet the last week.
Yeah, but I've been watching some stuff. I have caught time to watch some certain stuff. I've watched The Staircase. I'm watching that with Tony Collette, which is very good, based on the Netflix docu-series, and so that's very good. And just been watching bits and bobs and just.
I'm waiting for the Cronenberg new film to come out to go see, because I heard people, when somebody says somebody's walked out of a horror film, it's just like, that's that's it. I know. That's just like open invite. Okay, I'm so down now. Body horror. Why not? It's Cronenberg.
When I saw Hostel, I didn't really know anything about it. A friend of mine
said, movie disturbed the shit out of me.
But he said, just wait. He said, just wait. As I was watching it, occasionally we would see audience members get up and leave, and he just would lean over and say, casualties. So yeah, that's absolutely true. There's a TV thing that is a little pursuant to Dark Shadows and the future of Dark Shadows. Can I bring it up for just a moment?
Yeah,
it's a current thing if we're talking about what we're watching. Strange New Worlds. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Have either of you seen any of it?
No,
I have not
personally.
It is okay. Well, it's I think maybe the most consistently high-rated new series according to Rotten Tomatoes ever. It seems to be universally adored, and what is important about that is that the reason it seems to be a success is that they took what people love about Star Trek and simply distilled it and amplified it, rather than trying to change it, alter it, create humorous commentary on it, given it's the 10th anniversary of a certain movie called Dark Shadows. And I think its success and the success of its tone may very well dictate the future of other revivals of series. I think they may have cracked the code, and fans of Dark Shadows might want to take a look just to see if tonally it does what they would like to see done with Dark Shadows.
Are they going to actually have a Dark Shadows? Is it actually going to come out?
I don't know.
They're in the process. They're in the pre-production stage of it. So
they are in pre-production.
Yeah.
Mark Perry has not given up. I know that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think they're gonna have to do it. I think they're gonna have to. I think it could be a success. All they have to make sure they get the this song's everyone's very good looking in it, and they keep they have to go for that CW audience. I think they probably do quite well.
No, they'll probably get going to be what between 18 and 45.
Probably, yeah, I imagine so. And then to make sure it's going to be a kind of weird thing because it's going to have to be. I imagine it's going to have to go for a Riverdale kind of vibe for it, which is kind of a nod. Well, it's going to have to give a nod to it, but at the same time, the audience that they're going to be reaching for is going to be the younger set, so they're not going to have a lot of background history. So, but
you don't think it's going to be like a total like dark gothic Vampire Diaries?
Well, I think they got a lot more ways to grow with it. I mean, science fiction horror series now are all soap operas anyway. Every single one of them is a soap opera.
True, that is true.
So
there's a way.
Excuse me?
I was just going to say the showrunner, Mark Perry, is a huge fan, an actual huge fan of the original series. And I think he's working with several of the original actors very closely on it. And I get the feeling that not only is it going to be to a certain extent a continuation, but working in obviously younger actors and newer characters. I think he has seen what has happened 3 times, and I think he wants to maybe make a different choice, and by that do something that is intrinsically appealing to the current fans while appealing to new ones.
Are they going to like have a take? Are they going to they're not going to start off with like episode 206? Barnabas arrives.
No. It's gonna happen in today's world. It's gonna happen in 2023, 2022, whenever it gets made. It's gonna start from today. So so what may have happened, what may or may not have happened to the characters.
This is all going to be new.
Well, I mean, basically, what happened to the characters within that since it last aired will, come down to basically, where would they be now?
Right.
And continuing from this point forward.
The model he's used a number of times in discussing it has been Star Trek: The Next Generation. So that kind of gives you an idea of where he may be going.
Gotcha.
So it could stand on its own, but at the same time, there'll be some little Easter eggs in there to to nod to the past, I imagine. So,
well, I would hope.
I think the best thing he's doing is not doing like Batman, where we need an original story. Let's go back to the original story and let's redo this over again. Where we kind of get that. We got that with the Dan Curtis Dark Shadows from the 90s, didn't we? Where it's like just kind of regurgitating what we've already seen, but at a faster pace, sort of thing. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I think it's one that before anyone can who and ha or yay or nay it, I think it's got to be wait to see what comes out of it and take it on its own merits. So
it seems legit.
I mean, the name of it, the working title is Dark Shadows Generations. So that's to give you a bit of an idea.
Okay, I can figure things like that just from that. It would be nice. I would really love a fresh outlook, new characters.
I guess another thing basically is it's going to be kind of hard to do the Barnabas or the Hoffman because those actors are now since passed on, sort of thing. So do you get someone in to look like him and they're not going to be him, and it'll be interesting how they go. How the forward thinking on it.
Right.
I assume because they are going to have, from my understanding, some of the original characters appearing again. Obviously decades older.
Like cameos, or
I don't. It may be regular.
Well, I mean,
this is just me guessing, but
Maggie could be someone's grandmother.
Sure.
Laura Parker could come back as someone's grandmother. I mean, they could all come back as relatives. I mean, David and Amy's could be David and Amy's offsprings, really.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they might be. I mean, they might be grandparent age now, or or whatever. Or it could be his grandchildren, or what. I mean, there's enough scope there that Even David Selby's character, I mean, he could be great grandfather or grandfather.
Right.
I would not be surprised by that, by seeing, maybe Quentin again, or maybe Maggie again. Any of the characters that we are familiar with actors that are still with us, I would not be surprised if some of them appeared as those characters in the year 2022, 3, whenever they do it. That I would say, I don't have any direct information on this, but from everything I've heard, everything that's been intimated, I think that's a pretty good likelihood. And they look, I mean, good Lord, Catherine, David, Laura, they look great. So that's a real bonus there. And with Barnabas, the show had so much body switching. Just with Patofi alone, he's in and out of other people's brains, nigh unto constantly. So, that alone, using seances, possessions, secret formulas, Boris Balinkoff's machine from Gilligan's Island, whatever. I think that would probably be pretty likely.
And another thing with Barnabas, anyway, when the show closes, he's human anyway, so he's gonna have it now that the show closes with him being human, so he's gonna have an expiry date anyway. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna cut to Firey Kitten podcast, and make sure you listen to their podcast as we have an ad for them.
Are you itching for a good story, laughter among friends, maybe even a mystery or two? Well, you're in luck. Fire Breathing Kittens is a standalone Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Each episode is a separate 3-hour-long story, like a movie for your ears, so you can listen to these adventures in any order you like. So join us on a real play D&D quest as we solve mysteries, attempt comedic banter, and enjoy friendship. Fire Breathing Kittens podcast, fantasy, action, mystery, friendship.
Hello, welcome back to Legends Podcast. We're discussing Dark Shadows, April to May 1970, episodes 983 to 125. And we'll start off with scene 1, which is Dan Curtis does Hitchcock's Rebecca. Daniel devises a plan to scare Maggie, who hears humming when Daniel speaks to Angelique's portrait. Maggie buys a record for Daniel. Quentin is furious to hear Ode to Angelique, written by Bruno. Maggie and Quentin have an argument. Maggie leaves bereaved as her marriage deteriorates. Maggie returns after a few weeks, and Quentin warns her it is not safe for her to stay at Collinswood. Quentin comes home from the hospital and finds evidence of witchcraft in Maggie's suitcase. Maggie has a bizarre dream in which Quentin is the murderer of Angelique. Angelique causes Maggie to have a dream about finding a secret. Hoffman tricks Maggie into wearing Angelique's dress to a costume party, and Roger cruelly compares Maggie to Angelique, whose voice taunts Maggie. So, Patrick, what are your thoughts of these episodes?
It is something of a little bit of a slow period of the show for me. It's the show kind of running in place, creating time for them to go shoot the movie. Within that, though, there are a couple of things to think about. One of them is, if you've never seen the show before, this is Dark Shadows, and Dark Shadows keeps reinventing itself. One of the things I find interesting is that potentially, if this storyline had taken off, think about it, if it had really taken off, it would have become Dark Shadows. And I think it's sort of a little bit of Dan Curtis sitting down and thinking, well, while I've got these people spun off into the movie, what if we had Quentin as the head of the household? What would that look like? Catherine Lee Scott can do more than pour coffee and say, pop, pop, pop. So what if she becomes the first lady of Collinwood, and we take the sort of Vicky outsider idea and we simply amplify it? And, I think Rebecca is going to be mentioned with this. And so it's sort of fun to watch that experiment. It's a little sad to see the experiment kind of, wear itself out. For me, the star of it is, I love the cast. It's Christopher Pennock, who's doing some really interesting stuff as Cyrus Longworth. The most poignant part of it is, I think we talked about, is 985, which has, in my opinion, the best acting I've seen on the show. And it's a two-hander between Catherine and David, Quentin and Maggie, where she leaves him. And it's unbelievably honest. It feels completely real. And it shows someone dealing with domestic abuse in I think, a very brave, very decisive way that I hope was kind of inspirational for some of the viewers of the show. And, the other thing that I think very strongly about is that it's clear that that Quentin, the parallel time Quentin character, may actually be the real monster, just as an incredibly irrational, abusive figure. He's supposed to be the hero, but he's
kind of bossy. He's
scary.
I've noticed, how he kind of berates and talks down to the women folk in the show, like Maggie.
He's a frightening temper.
He's got a bad temper. I don't know if that's where they're going, because most soap operas, I don't know if they were into promoting an idea. I guess they were back then, promoting ideas, mixed families and stuff like that. But he's really it's hard to watch David Selby be this kind of a turd. He really is.
Well, he kind of reminds me of the Maximilian character in Rebecca, played by Laurence Olivier.
Right.
Where it's kind of like, him and his wife. And I mean, the thing about the Rebecca storyline anyway, which is, this is still carrying out before we finish this block anyway.
Right.
Let's see where they go. But you do find out that, Angelique character, or the Rebecca character, is normally, she's felt within every single scene of the original Rebecca sort of thing.
Well, her presence is in every episode of every minute of this whole block. There's very little, not Angelique.
But at the same time, what you did was and I think, as you were saying about the filming, the film Dark Shadows is being filmed at the same time this is being done.
Right.
And so I think that there's a lot of things that, because of people's, where they had to be on set at the movie, sometimes I think the TV series kind of suffered, because what we kind of get this split in this Rebecca storyline. We get the beginning of the block.
Yes, we do.
It picks up at the end of the block. And by that time, you're kind of going, okay, well, here we go again. And you kind of, here we go back. We're treading again here. And I think that if they were able to, stick to it a bit more, what we needed is more Hoffman as the Mrs. Danvers character.
Oh my God!
And gaslighting Maggie more, but we don't really get we get touches of the gaslighting, but we don't get a lot of the gaslighting.
Yeah, but you got Hoffman being Mrs. Danvers, and I'm trying to figure out if she's a good Mrs. Danvers, or am I really?
No, she's gaslighting Maggie. But the problem basically is that there needed to be more of that to actually feel this whole thing, because what they should have done with it for us, the viewers, that we need to figure out, is Maggie just a paranoid person,
right,
or is she being gaslighted? And the thing is, they're not giving us that area of gray. They're kind of giving us this is black and white. So it kind of,
well, she is being gaslighted, though. She is being
the thing is, when you watch it, when you read the original Rebecca by Rebecca De Moyer,
right,
or watch the Hitchcock thing, you don't know if the main character is being gaslighted or not. You don't know how much of it's in her head or how much of it's actually happening. And that's what makes the book and the movie work.
Right.
Here, unfortunately, I think due to casting times between the TV show and the movie, I think they didn't have the momentum to actually keep that. They need to keep it instead of a black and white situation that we know she's being gaslighted. We know this is happening. We know this is what's taking place. They should have been a bit more fluid with it. So therefore, it's like you're not quite sure if Maggie's just a bit mad or is she being gaslighted, because you know that she's being gaslighted. It's kind of mentioned from the. I mean, we even get I think we do get a scene where Julia's talking basically about how they're going to gaslight her next, sort of thing, in this block. So it would have been, if they were a bit more clever with it, and we needed more, and to be honest, we kind of need a bit more Hoffman as that person who's always there in the background, no matter what's going on, she's kind of there. And of course, due to filming, of course, she probably couldn't be there, sort of, because she had to film the movie. So So I like where they were trying to go with it, but I don't think they were fully realizing how to go through with it. Because what we find out, of course, at the end of the movie Rebecca, with the Laurence Olivier version of it, we find out that basically he wasn't that in love with Rebecca. Rebecca was quite a horrible person sort of situation. And so all this angst and all this, his losing his temper towards, the new wife, or in this case, Quentin to Maggie, it all makes sense at the end of it, because basically it's not really directed at her. It's just that she happens to be there when it's all feeling too much for him, and then she just seems to be the brunt of it. Where at the moment, Quentin just comes, he's coming across as a bit strong and about, and then when we get to the next phrase where we get the AngeliqueAlexis thing going on at the moment, and I think that's where this storyline kind of takes I think this is probably why it didn't come to fruition there when we get the Alexis Angelique storyline, because now we get Quentin being kind of enthralled with the Angelique character. Now he's actually in love with her, so that kind of changes it. Now we just taken the whole Rebecca storyline and kind of threw it out slightly.
But is he in love with Angelique, or is he in love with Maggie?
Well, he's following.
Or is he in love with Alexis? Because he was kissing Alexis too.
Well, he is following Alexis around like she's in Heat. So yeah.
Like she really is kind of on his leg, or he's on her leg. I don't know whose leg. Yeah.
I mean, I guess
poor Maggie's out in the cold no matter what.
And she has the best legs of all.
Yeah, she does have really nice gams. I was noticing, which she had a really cute outfit on in the last episode. She was answering the door, and she's really quite cute as a button. She was.
Is it the green one with the collar?
I don't know, but she had the really cool pantyhose. It has the line down the back.
Sure.
Which is so hard to keep on.
No, I'm wearing them now.
No, you are.
Yeah.
Is the line perfect on your calves, though? That is
of course it is. But in wartime, I would use, eyeliner.
And I think another thing might be the David character fitting into this
Daniel or David?
David. Well, it's Daniel. Sorry, it's Daniel. Sorry.
Yeah.
But the Daniel kind of fitting into that being kind of wedged into the storyline about, his love for his mother and Maggie not being so on and so forth. So it was good to see that Maggie wasn't being a governess this time around. I'll give her that.
Right.
So.
But she did buy that album. Who urged her to buy that album? Alexis?
I think, did Hoffman do it?
Hoffman.
That's right. And that was that theme song, the piano theme song that Bruno wrote.
Ode to Angelique.
Yeah, I mean.
Ode to Angelique.
I mean, I found it quite extraordinary that was it a hit? Could you buy it down at your local Woolworths? The Angelique record. I mean,
Bruno Hess was an important man.
Well, they did do demos on vinyl back in the day.
Yeah, but she actually went to a store and bought it, so it must be like
that's true. That's true. I digress.
It must be available in every record store across the country or whatever.
Well, there's a weird bit of truth to that. Because one of the things that we forget about the 1960s is the incredible diversity of music that made it into the top 40. And, everybody loves somebody sometime knocked "I Want to Hold Your Hand" off the charts. And I think the artist with the most top-selling songs, I think, was Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
Oh my God! What was that album called where she's sitting in the big thing of cream? What was that called?
Dana Elcar and Other Delights.
Oh, my mother.
Whipped cream. Whipped
cream. My mother played that album when I was 5 all the time, and I remember it. And it brings so many fond memories back. If I ever just get a glimmer of hearing it off in the distance.
If you have access to Photoshop, it's a lot of fun to take really almost anyone and put them in the pile of whipped cream.
Oh, and be the girl with her face.
Sure.
Face. What did I? That's cute. I'll have to do that to my mother.
She'd love it.
Still loves it.
But I mean, it does show you that. Bruno, not only does he have he's not a novelist, but he's also got a song available to buy at record stores.
Okay, can we clear this up before I forget? I just need to know, inquiring minds want to know, what is with his hair? Why is Bruno always the victim of a bad hair day? All the time.
In this case, there's an episode, it's lost, but Jim Pearson told me about it, where he takes his thumb and he blows into it and it inflates. I wish. It is magnificent hair. It's astounding.
He's got a lot of hair. Is that his hair? Because me and Keith were talking about wigs once upon a time, weren't we? It's a wig. It's not a wig.
I thought it was Julia Hoffman's old hair.
I think it may have been his, because you can see it evolve.
Yeah.
From Aristide, and it continues to to engorge as he plays.
Engorge is a good word for it.
As he plays Bruno in primary time, right. and then it reaches full straining height in parallel time.
I guess he just doesn't have the facade or the look about him to give him a part of a nice guy. He's always going to be that whiny little villain.
Yeah, I think with him though, I think he's one of these people that probably was growing his hair to be cut, because you got to remember, this is like, we're coming, long hair for 70s. Guys was still quite trendy at that time, even though the hippie era was kind of being killed off by Manson. But there's two kinds of guy hair that you can have. You have like the ones where your hair kind of grows out and you look like a friend of Jesus, or you kind of get that, one where your hair doesn't kind of grow down; it kind of just grows out. And I think he's part of these. I think he's part of that ones where the hair just kind of grew out, where it's like you have a hair. You grow up. You can either have the hair of Jesus or have a hair helmet. And I think Bruno had a hair helmet.
I find him like one of those train wrecks I can't stop watching. I don't know why. I find him fascinating. Sometimes he irritates me, but oftentimes he fascinates me. I don't know why.
Michael Stroke is one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite actors on the show. He does play a relentless series of sleazes.
Yeah, which I think he is. He's such a bad guy all the time.
Which I think is the title of a Dr. Seuss book. But also he nails it. He nails it every time. Like and you can't
he does. He's very
him.
Entertaining to watch. He's highly entertaining to watch.
The only problem with his character, and this happens with every single character that he plays throughout Dark Shadows, but he's like that really bad Bond villain does. Like, instead of just killing Bond, he decides to tell Bond the whole plan of what he's going to do.
Oh, I know. You get the whole story before you do it. Why do they do that? I'm going to tell you everything, and then I'm going to tell you.
And then look a bit surprised when it doesn't go through. It's like, well, you just told everyone what you're going to do. He did it like what's his name, when he was being a werewolf in the tomb, doing the Leviathan. It's like, I'm going to do this and this and this. And
I know. And then he gets the bill. What was the silver on the ground now? Was it the, what was it?
The silver cane or something.
The silver cane, that's right. It was Barnabas' cane or something was on the floor. It had silver on it. Okay, yeah, that's right.
But he's like one of these people who thinks he's very, very clever, but no matter what he does, he's never able to pull it off. He's like,
he's one of these people
so close, but yet so far. So,
which I think makes him weirdly sympathetic as a villain. Also, he's a consummate weasel, and he always gets it handed to him. So he's almost this Punchinello figure.
Well, he's such a brown nose, though. It's just like
but he can't lie. He can't lie to save his life. He doesn't have to lie effectively either.
Let's face it, he's a walking irony engine.
Yeah, possibly. I'm trying to figure out in this plot. Well, I guess I don't know if you mentioned it when I read this. Is everybody in love with Angelique? Peter Stroka too?
You mean in real life?
No, not really.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got ghosts in this thing in love with Angelique.
Yeah,
it doesn't stop. Even by putting on B. Arthur's pantsuit, it doesn't really take away all of the ardor that she generates.
Yeah, everybody seems to be in love with her. I know that.
Well, she's the only one that's actually showing a bit of breast as well. Everyone else is kind of like high collared. Everyone's
well, no, I mean the last few she's had pretty high collars on, except for when they had the period dresses on. Now that shows a little cleavage.
No, but what I'm saying, Angelique always has a little bit of cleavage, where everyone else is kind of wearing high collared outfits.
Yeah,
buttoned up. And so maybe
she had on a really big flowing whatever that was. I guess the big baggies. I like baggy clothes. I don't like skin tight clothes anymore. But she had this big baggy, really whimsical 60s turnover 70s thing on. I guess that was the groovy thing to wear back then.
The only other
a lot
cleavage,
of flares going on.
The only other cleavage I know on the show was an episode where Sheriff Patterson lost his tie, and it got unbuttoned a little bit. And Dana Elcar had something going on. I don't know what, but that's the closest we got with somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well. Speaking of Angelique, this brings us to scene 2, which is called AngeliqueAlexis, Which is Which? Yeah. Alexis Stokes, Angelique's identical twin sister, arrives. Bruno obtains Angelique's address book and produces a deed to the cottage on the Collinswood estate. Trying to learn the truth about Alexis, Bruno decides to open Angelique's tomb. Alexis inquires about the seance at which Angelique died. Carolyn and Cyrus find Sabrina at Collinswood preparing for a new seance. At the seance, a spirit speaks through Sabrina, and Alexis faints during the ceremony. Daniel insists Alexis is really his mother. Hannah Stokes promises to help Bruno. Her tarot cards reveal something startling about Angelique. Alexis attempts to stop Quentin and Cyrus from opening Angelique's tomb. Angelique's body is discovered perfectly preserved in her coffin. Angelique drains the life from Alexis and switches places with her. Hannah discovers the secret about her niece, Angelique. David and Amy find Barnabas' portrait. Angelique reveals her secret to Hoffman. Angelique's incantation causes Quentin to collapse. Angelique suddenly feels icy cold and realizes she needs a victim for warmth to survive. And Angelique attacks Colin's family lawyer, Larry Chase. So, Vix, what's your feelings about Angelique?
I'm trying to figure out if she's a psychic vampire or a succubus. She obviously needs energy or warmth, and it seems like she's preferable to males at this point, because I think in this she gets 2 people in this block, doesn't she? She feeds off of 2 people.
Yeah, well, she feeds off the lawyer.
Off the lawyer, and then there was somebody before that, wasn't there? But I mean, okay, so when she comes back, I found it was an anxiety attack. I really did like this part. I think this was kind of a really cool little showcase for Lara Parker to show her stuff, because while they were filming in upstate New York, she had her chance to really shine in some of these episodes, because there aren't all the characters there to detract from anything she's doing. And I thought she really excelled in these. The one thing that I thought I really liked, my favorite scene, was when she was talking to her sister in the casket, where after when they were exchanging, she was going in there to say goodbye to her. Clearly they were going to destroy the casket. She switches places with her, and they have that little aside together about how she's going to, live on. And then they end up burning the casket, which is like, well, that sucks, because there's no chance for Alexis ever coming back, right? Unless she comes back from the dead, which I won't know because I don't remember any of these, so I don't know what's going to happen. When it comes to that address book, I was really trying to figure out why everybody was after that address book. What was in the address book?
It's the deed to the cottage.
Okay. I did not remember that. And okay, so you got Sabrina. Okay, Sabrina is taking care of, what's the good doctor's name?
Cyrus Longworth.
Cyrus, I love that name, Cyrus Longworth. I think he is so sweet. After we watched him be such a little turd through all the Leviathan stuff, you've got the mild-mannered Clark Kentish type of, professor. The part that really started I struggled with was when he do the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, when that starts.
Yeah, and we'll be discussing that in the next scene.
Oh, okay. Okay. I got ahead of myself. But I didn't understand. Okay, so you got Alexis. They didn't want to open the tube, apparently. But I'm still trying to understand at this point. I know they all have a connection with Angelique, but what is Cyrus's connection with her, really?
Isn't it? I think it's more about his friendship with Quentin more than his association with Angelique.
So you think by association because they were married?
No, what I'm saying is that he's not there as far as for or against Angelique. He's there more on behalf of helping Quentin come to terms or figuring out about what the Angelique situation is.
Right.
A bit like if I'm in a relationship and you're helping me sort out that relationship, you're not, it doesn't mean that you're actually entwined with the person I'm in a relationship with. It just means
right.
That,
okay, she killed the caretaker first, or whatever that slime ball was. Remember, she kept saying, this ugly gardener guy, kiss me. I'm going, ooh, no.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, who was that? Yeah, she killed him first. And it's like, ooh, I'm trying to figure out if she's a psychic vampire or a succubus or an incubus type thing. Well, actually, succubus is female.
I think she's there to keep the ensemble small.
What do y'all think she is?
I was going to say that she's probably more of a psychic vampire because it seems like she's spending a lot of time reaching beyond the grave sort of thing, isn't she? So,
right.
Maybe an incubus, maybe more of an incubus, succubus kind of a character.
Well, succubus draws on sexual energy. There's sexual energy going on. There's sexual tension anyway.
And she's killing people's life force. She's not draining. She's draining them of their life force. She's not draining them of their blood or anything like that. So.
Right. It kind of reminds me of I don't know why this keeps coming. Maybe because my husband was watching it a couple nights ago or whatever. The Star Trek episode with the salt creature that sticks her hands on you.
Sure, the man trap.
The man, and she sucks all the salt out of your body.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking that the other night ago. I just was.
Well,
I think. Sorry,
no, Keith, please.
I guess we do get kind of, we're kind of also getting a little bit of shades of the, what's her name? Roger's wife, basically.
Laura.
Laura. We're kind of getting the whole
fire. Okay, yeah, Phoenix.
Yeah,
Laura.
by the war fire, and and the Phoenix. Laura was a bit like that as well. Where basically it was the life force that she was after, not the blood or anything like that. So we're kind of getting a slight parallel to that, but not a full.
Well, Barnabas was asking her when she was talking to herself, when she was trying to mess with Maggie's head. You like the fire. I think at that point he's starting to figure out something isn't quite right. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because, he knows that the original Angelique was afraid of fire. But yet she's sitting there in this dimension, sitting there by the fire while she was actually jinxing Maggie and messing with her head. But, Barnabas at this point, this is where I left off. The one thing that remained in my head after this is Barnabas is kind of onto her, I think.
Oh, sure.
It is a bit unclear about Angelique's roots anyway. The thing is, we're in a parallel time sort of thing. So Angelique, the witch, during the time of Josette, was she a witch at that time? Because this is a parallel time, so we're unclear about that. We do know that somewhere along the way, that Angelique basically got married to a Stokes because she's Angelique Stokes. So basically, I don't know. I don't know if Angelique was having an affair with Ben Stokes or after Ben learned to read Stokes. I'm not quite sure there.
She's in this universe. She's a Stokes by birth.
Yeah.
Because there's another Professor Stokes, and that's her father.
Yeah.
So
we're not. Yeah, we're not quite sure about what happened in the 1700 storyline anyway, if that even
I think I always take this as being a totally different character who just happens to look and be named Angelique.
So therefore she wouldn't be a witch. She wouldn't be a witch during this parallel time. So she wouldn't the powers or anything like that.
One of the things that disappoints me about this storyline is also one of the things that I think is its strength. And it has what I'm looking for. It just kind of hides it and tucks it away. And that is, if you're going to do a parallel universe, give me some daggers and give me some beards on characters who don't have beards. And let's see what the differences really are, rather than just have it be a little bit, to the left, do something else with it. And I used to feel very strongly about that. And then I thought to myself, you know what? They call it parallel time. They don't call it perpendicular time. They don't call it opposite time. No. It just is kind of running alongside. And the cool thing about that is that when you start to look for the major ontological difference between the two universes, between primary time and parallel time, it's the role of magic, and it's the role of the supernatural. I really can't think of almost any supernatural things in that universe that show up in the prime universe whatsoever. It's a very different take on all of that. There's a little bit of mad science involved. There's a little bit of chemistry involved. Even though they wave around this book on witchcraft, and even though William.
Oh, the seventh level of witchcraft. I died laughing when I saw that.
Yeah. And even though William is fascinated with Barnabas as a vampire, those don't really exist in this universe. It's a much stranger for us take on the occult, and it's a chance to I think explore some differences there. So I like the fact that they choose that as the point of primary divergence beyond just nuances of the characters. And Angelique's a reflection of that, because Angelique would not fit in, traditional Angelique wouldn't fit in this universe. For one thing, I think she would just mop the floor with it. There's no question.
She wouldn't have tolerated half of this.
Another thing is just like, even take the Stokes thing in this parallel time, the Ben Stokes that she is, the great granddaughter of, doesn't mean that the Ben Stokes was the Ben Stokes that we saw in 1795 previously. He could have been a teacher, or he could have been. He might not have been a servant, or Angelique. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't Josette that came over. Maybe it was Angelique that came over, planning to be married to someone else.
Sure,
it could be almost anything. So
sure.
And but I don't think that I don't think she's a witch in this here anyway. I mean, she's using tarot cards. There's not the things that we come expected with Josette. With Angelique here, we don't have the incantation. We don't have the let's make a doll out of someone and let's do the pins in the doll. We're not getting any of that here. She's kind of going.
She still does some of the same stuff though.
She does, but
she does, but it's different. It's not the Angelique that we come to know. It's not. It's Angelique with a new bag of tricks.
Okay, I can deal with that.
And who's missing one really important thing? When we first meet Angelique, she has one thing about her that's her saving grace. She's in love with the same character we are, for different reasons. But we can all agree we're crazy about Barnabas.
Right.
And that consistently, I won't say softens the character, but it adds a lot of nuance. You can't get mad completely at her motivation, just how she goes about executing it. This Angelique is just a jerk, or more colorful words than that, a jerk. And it's kind of a chance for Barnabas to get some stuff out of his system, because it's like, oh wait, this is Angelique, and she's just completely evil, and she's not in love with me. Oh, this is going to be good. Saving the Collins family is going to feel really good on this one. And I think, in a meta sense, getting that out of his system is one of the things that may clear the path for him to do what he does at the end of the series.
Right.
I guess another thing with Angelique, this is a nod to Edgar Allan Poe's Tomb of Ligeia as well. So we're getting some nods there with Ligeia coming back and that whole storyline as well. So we got a lot of
sunglasses.
But we are getting a lot of Curtis. Curtis does the classics. So we got
sure.
We got two Ligeia now, and now we're getting, and then when we get into the next scene where we get Robert Louis Stevenson popping in now, sort of thing. But I mean, it's the only thing I kind of wish, the only thing I think that that they kind of missed out on. I would like to have more of a differentiation between the two personalities of Alexis and Angelique a little bit. They kind of flowed in. They kind of flowed in a little bit too close to each other. It's almost a bit like it's almost like watching The Parent Trap with Haley Mills. It's kind of like, they were so similar that it was really kind of hard to figure out who was supposed to be where anyway. Sort of thing, because the characters were so close.
Is that a storytelling advantage? Or is there a storytelling advantage that they wring out of that occasionally?
Well, I mean, I guess the whole thing is that I guess where it could kind of work in the advantage is that we don't see Angelique really until she enters Alexis's body anyway. So the only thing that we know about Angelique's character is by what we're being told, through everyone else's eyes. And but it does seem from everyone else's eyes that everyone, when they see Alexis in the way that she acts, that people are still unsure whether she's Alexis or just Angelique pretending she's Alexis. So these identical twins seem to be more identical in more ways than one. More than it must be identical in personality and talking and body structure and language and everything like that. Must be hand in hand. I mean, they're probably the most identical twins that we've ever seen in the face of the earth, really, from what they're saying. So I guess it would, I guess I wish I could have a bit of a more of a spin going on here with, a different kind of Alexis Angelique situation where, Alexis is maybe one way and Angelique's another, Angelique that we kind of know acts this way, and the new Alexis might be,
Well, do you think Alexis was kind of on the take too, though, because she also knew that Quentin's married and she kissed him anyway. So I mean, I was kind of confused as to how her innocent counterpart was. It didn't make sense.
I think this sometimes is where Dark Shadows kind of pale slightly, where we don't get a lot of backstory with some of these characters. They kind of come on and there's like, this is this character from this point forward. And maybe it would have been nice to have a little bit of backstory about how close were Alexis and Angelique as sisters. Or
I don't think they were particularly close. Although, I mean, I guess it depends on how we define closeness in that sense. The thing I like about the relationship, I do like the subtlety of difference, because it adds to the sense of ambiguity of, wait, hold on, which is which. However, somehow Alexis is the one with the thick glasses, and the one who wasn't a good dancer, and the one who wasn't a good athlete, and so on. She finally polishes it up, and she may really polish it up, I think, when Angelique's dead, because now she's the star. I mean, I get the idea, she is Jan to Angelique's Marcia.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
And of course she's going to grab Quentin. It's like, oh, damn it, I was too late. Maggie got in there, but wait, she's gone? Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess another thing is that, if she's a Stokes and then, and she married into the Collins family, I mean, basically, obviously she married up. We're assuming that she would marry up from being, whether you're a professor's daughter or, if you're a professor's daughter and you're marrying into this old rich family, old money, then you're marrying up, aren't you? So there's also that from Alexis's point of view. Her sister married up.
Yeah,
she married into the big house on the hill where everybody, who owns the town instead of being like one of the townsfolk. She graduated into town royalty, hasn't she? So
sure, the deluxe apartment in the sky.
See, that we did find Barnabas's portrait, because it really wasn't in its usual prestigious place of, showing.
Well,
As
the
the
question
David
is, I mean, would Barnabas have been a vampire? I mean, we don't know. It's parallel time, so he's probably just a footnote in the family, in the family history in this parallel time. He's not. He's not a main character.
Does
he wouldn't be a main character?
Is there a reference to him having gone to England?
Well, the thing is that first of all, there's no coffin in this time period with him in it anywhere. I don't
mean that metaphorically. I'm just saying, does William, when he's talking about?
Well, Barnabas lacks a lot of imagination when he pops into these storylines because he's using the same storyline. Oh, I was in England, and then Quentin goes, "There's no mention of the Barnabas going to England." He does mention that in passing, sort of thing. But they don't really say what happened to Barnabas. I'm assuming that the original Barnabas probably just died of old age or died from malaria or whatever happened to people.
Sure. I mean, imagine Barnabas without all of that other stuff. He's kind of dull. He's sort of a goody-goody. He's except for, messing around with Angelique and the islands. But that's kind of the extent of it. He's kind of bland. We never really find out what he does at the shipyard, what his specific task is. He's in terms of being interesting, he's no Jeremiah.
No. Well, he's a man child, isn't he? I mean, he's like a little lost boy stuck in a 30-year-old body. Sort of
sure.
Thing,
I mean, he's even dressed like the Blue Boy when he shows up, at the beginning of 1795.
And he does that thing where he brushes his hair forward when when like older people try to look younger and they brush their hair forward.
Yep.
You're doing that as well.
Yeah, that doesn't always turn out to be very complimentary.
Trying to cover his widow's peak. Look at me, I got a fringe. But
sure.
Yeah, so I mean, this Barnabas in this parallel timeline. I mean, we don't know a lot about it, but this is where we'll get into more of the Barnabas later, but this is where we kind of get Barnabas is a bit naive about this parallel time a little bit as well. Sort of thing, He kind of shows his cards a little bit too quickly here, where maybe it probably would be better if he kind of just sat back and take in the scenery before you start adding to it, sort of thing. So. Now we're at scene 3. Curtis does Robert Louis Stephenson. Cyrus drinks a potion and collapses. Cyrus learns about damage caused by John Yeager. Cyrus refuses to tell Horace Gladstone the purpose of his experiment. Cyrus takes another potion and begins a transformation. Yeager has a fight at the Eagle Tavern and physically abuses barmaid Buffy Harrington. At Cyrus's laboratory, Yeager is confronted by Quentin, who questions him about Cyrus. Yeager assures Sabrina that Cyrus allows him to store items in the laboratory safe. Gladstone learns the secret about Cyrus's mysterious experiments. Gladstone attempts to blackmail Cyrus. Yeager appears and confronts Gladstone. Yeager discovers a hidden passageway and follows it to the old house basement. Maggie meets Yeager on the docks, and he reveals details about the seance. So now that Tom Diamond's with us, Tom, what are your thoughts of the scene 3?
Well, thank you, guys. I'm going to make a general comment, first of all, and say that this whole block, and I'm sure this must have been talked about before I came on board, for me was a disappointment. When I first watched Parallel Time back in the good old days, I was fascinated by the different relationships between the characters, the idea of Willie being married to Carolyn, Maggie and Quentin, Trask being a butler, which was getting what he deserved, and so forth. Now, watching this though, it seems to be a rehash of old plots. There's the Dr. Jekyll Hyde, which has been done to death. And I think that, I guess it was about time that Dark Shadows decided to try this. But I think they were kind of experimenting a little too. They were experimenting a little too much. You even see a putty nose the first time that he changes from Cyrus to Magi Jaeger, and then they get rid of that putty nose afterwards. It's very, very, very blatant. It obviously wasn't working for him, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Horace
I guess it was the shoe polish on the head that kind of threw me.
No, not to mention the man, not to mention on the mustache, which was, they're all saying, "Oh, he had a mustache." That's going to really make a big difference.
Pennick did a really good job, though. All whatever aside, I
have to say, I mean, he does portray two different characters, which he did well. I mean, if you didn't, let's sit there and say you were coming fresh in there and you weren't quite familiar with Chris Pennick's face, for instance, that when he does change into Jaeger, it's quite a good transformation. Once you get past I guess we kind of have to take notice that now we're living in an age where everything's kind of digitally enhanced now. So when you're watching these episodes, you're no longer watching through the snow of a TV antenna or the rabbit ears, and you're kind of getting a clearer than clear picture that probably was intended to watch these. So yeah, you do notice the makeup and stuff like this. But in the days that it probably was there, you probably didn't notice it as much as you do now, maybe.
Well, I think there was also an understanding that these were not special effects. These were symbolic of special effects. It was not meant as a total illusion. I think it had more of a sense of representation. This represents a physical change. And I think also everyone knew, and it was one of the big things I was curious about, everyone knew that this was shot live on tape. So they didn't really have a lot of time when they stopped the camera to change him around. And so how are you going to do that? And how are you going to do that and have him be somewhat credible? I know it's ludicrous looking at how he's dolled up, but somewhat credible as someone who might be attractive to some woman somewhere. Because, if you look at the history of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that character sometimes is almost an ape.
Yeah.
Is a complete. I think what is that? What Frederick March version is almost a total simian. So how are they going to do that? and keep him as a semi-romantic figure, as weird as that sounds, on a soap opera.
Well, by episode 1025, they look like they're kind of getting down with his makeup a little better.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's quite amazing that they went to the lengths that they did, considering how a quick change it had to be. I mean, there have been. I mean, normally what would happen on Dark Shadows when you do have the change, what you would do is like end of the day. Okay, he's gonna change, and then the next episode, the next day is him change, sort of thing. But I think we get a couple instances where he actually changes in the same episode, which is, quite amazing when you considering the title and stuff like that. I mean, we do know that Jaeger is part of the, keep them mean, keep them keen kind of school of, women dating. So that's kind of like.
What is he supposed to be? The woman's dream or something?
Something like that. I mean, the exact opposite, I think, what Angelique, one of the things about this whole block is this is Angelique's show before Barnabas comes back anyway. I mean,
it's definitely Angelique's time to shine.
Everybody's in love with Angelique. Roger and Quentin and
you know what I miss about, though, Roger? Those quippy one-liners. Who is writing these episodes? No one's doing the one-liners. I mean, the first 200 episodes, God, I love Roger.
It's a different Roger. It's a Roger that's smitten.
I know, but he gets smitten every other episode with somebody else.
Well, but this time,
it's always Angelique. It's always Laura Parker.
But Roger's also a totally different character. I mean, there's nothing really attaching Roger to this family, really, because there's no son.
That's right.
Okay, Daniel in this is Quentin.
Daniel is Quentin's son.
Okay, and Amy belongs to
Chris, their brothers,
Chris
and sisters,
Jenkins.
and there's nothing about the mother and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what Amy. I'm not even quite sure what Amy's doing in the house. To be honest with you, there's no reason for her to be there, really, in this parallel time.
Except scream, which she does very well.
Wait, isn't she Quentin's daughter?
What's that?
Isn't she Quentin's daughter?
No. She's Quentin's, and that's interesting. And they're cousins.
Chris.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out how Chris is supposed to be a Collins in this universe.
Chris is supposed to be a Collins, but it's not mentioned here how Chris is an ancestor.
That's all I was just kind of confused
of
by
the
that.
old Quentin. I don't know how that. But one thing I do want to mention, getting back to John Yeager, is I think the producers had hoped that the transformation would be augmented by the 1960s special effects that they were trying on camera. Where he all turns green and seems to bundle out, and and then of course that white light, which was used prior when Adam was being revived. And I think they hoped that with a combination of that plus those Brooks Brothers clothes that they had him wear, he opens up the closet and there are all these clothes, and my God, that's not something you'd see Cyrus wearing. And I don't know if Orbax came out with that stuff, but I think that's why that's what they were hoping for. I think in terms of starting a John Yeager fan club. So for this, and then of course you have John Harkins as far as Gladstone. Now that is a disappointment to me also. John Harkins was great as the Dartmoor, Garth Blackwood.
Oh, Garth Blackwood, yeah.
Garth Black, wasn't he a beauty? Wasn't he a villain? And my aches and pains are going away just thinking of the way he used to just run with his chains through the floor and hit people willy-nilly and killed Count Patafi. And he did a wonderful job as that. I think that this character is very, very pale as compared to the character that he had played in and of course he had played another couple. He was Mr. Strack down when they had that Leviathan thing back in 1949 when they were trying to convince Paul Stoddard. But there's no doubt that I think that the Horace, getting back to scene 3, I think Horace Gladstone is a minus to the scene. I don't think there's enough tension between him, although he tries to establish it. But I don't think there's enough tension between him and Cyrus.
He's just a nuisance, isn't he? Instead of like being a threat, he's just a nuisance.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, let me do this, or I'm gonna. And it's like someone like, I don't know. Someone's like, if you don't do this, I'm gonna throw this paper airplane at you. So, okay, fine, whatever. It has that kind of feel to it. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to have the weight to do anything to him anyway. What's he gonna do?
Wait. Who doesn't have the weight to do what to whom?
Gladstone doesn't seem to have any weight with. So he makes these threats about Cyrus, but there doesn't seem to be any weight behind the threats. Like he can't really. The threats that he have are kind of empty threats because he doesn't have the power to carry them through anyway. It just has that kind of feel to it for me anyway.
Well, he doesn't know what the meds are about, and Cyrus won't tell him. And later on, of course, he does. But it's too late. There's already become an establishment. There's a relationship between two characters that was already established that Cyrus is the one in control. Whereas if you compare it with Garth Blackwood, I mean, he was in control of everything. So maybe, I don't know if that's an unfair comparison to make, but this 3, it's definitely a minus. I don't think it has anything to do with Harkins. I think the writer just did it.
I think that I mean, and I also think with the Pennick character, I think Pennick does a great job between the two characters that he's playing. But I think the writers, I mean, the Cyrus character, if you go back to the Jekyll and Hyde character anyway, the Jekyll character is very mild-mannered, very neat, very, Victorian London, like the gentleman situation. And then you get the Jaeger person who's the complete opposite, as you're saying, more of a Neanderthal kind of character. Where here, I think what kind of just sets us off is that Cyrus seems to be heavily involved in helping Quentin and being kind of like the brains behind that situation. So therefore, his mild and meek character has a little bit more strength than it should have, really, to actually play these two characters against each other. And the Sabrina character, I mean, it's nice that she's there, but it's not quite sure exactly why she's there.
She's his lab assistant.
Well, it's a lab assistant who tends to be who's a bit hot for teacher sort of situation.
Right.
But and this is nothing against Sabrina or against Chris Pennick, but there tends to be not very. I don't know, on paper it probably looked good, but on screen it's really
not believable.
Well, yeah, there's no sparks between the two characters. It's almost like when we saw, back in 1790s when we saw like there's supposed to be this huge and heavy sparks between Josette and Barnabas, and we didn't get that, but we got the hot and heavy sparks between Josette
Angelique and
Jeremiah, and Angelique and Barnabas actually had more sparks than this love story of all time sort of thing, and it was kind of a bit like that. There was no great sparks to help sell that story a little bit. And, I think that's something that you either have as an actor that you can actually forgo, that either two people actually have that spark, but it's really hard to fake that spark sort of thing. So maybe it comes down to that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think it's appropriate that Barnabas and Angelique have that spark. That's the irony. That's the yellow impurity in the power battery.
Right.
And of course, it lays the groundwork for the rest of the series. The Barnabas Josette thing lays the groundwork for a few storylines and lays the groundwork for what Barnabas thinks his motivation is. But that relationship with Angelique, because let's face it, she's the one that he had to choose not to choose.
Right.
And that to me really means something. And so I love that about it. And it must.
I've never understood why he never chose her, though. When you think about it,
I
get it. But can you imagine how things would have been different? How it would have played out?
Oh yeah, he would have taken that advertising job at McMahon and Tate.
Yeah,
and
yeah, he would have.
Basically, it's all because of the class system anyway. That's the reason why nothing went through. She's a servant. The other day he was in love with a servant girl, and let's face it, no matter whether you're reading a Harlequin romance, it's always the hottest thing is not the the two people of high class, the two high class people getting together. That's not the bodice ripper. The bodice ripper is like, the high class person going after the servant. That's where the sex and
the bodice rippers.
It's Helen Mirren. It's Helen Mirren and Jim Varney.
Yeah,
Ernest meeting, which that's a movie. The thing with of course it was also an arranged marriage, and so there was a business impetus going on. But I'll tell you this: when it seems like it's necessary, Joshua and his wife put up with the marriage. They put up with the marriage between Barnabas and Angelique. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is that if you look at a lot of their attitudes, to us, they're stodgy. They're incredibly old-fashioned. But if you look in the context of the 1790s, a lot of their attitudes, including just allowing the marriage at all, even having the discussion with Angelique, is very forward-thinking. And I think that helps Barnabas because he's a man of the future from the past who winds up in the future and has to reconcile that.
I mean, I always said that if you were going to remake Dark Shadow, say like remake it like as a story as it is, then probably what would make more sense is make Angelique black.
Yes.
Because
or a brown woman, not
because basically she would have been from the islands, and then with the whole witchcraft and the Haiti, voodoo and everything that she's doing with the dolls, and it would make more sense. And of course, there'd be more of a version, but at the same time, that forbidden love would even more. It would give that even more of a spark sort of thing.
Yeah. But again, you're dealing, with the 1960s. By the way, I know this is going back just to season 2, but did any of you ever pick up the Larry Chase character, who was one of Angelique's victims? That's actually a technical person on the show. Kenneth.
Who was it?
Kenneth. I'm trying to remember now. God, it's just. He was a technical guy, Ken Stevens or something like that, or KT. But anyway, yeah, he was one of the technical people on the show, and he wanted a break. He wanted a break into acting. So Dan Curtis go ahead, and I guess he really did his lines very well. And so that was the. Oh my goodness! And I don't even have it in front of me. I'll have to.
He did have that. He did have that feeling that if he was in Star Trek, he'd be wearing a red shirt though when he did appear.
Right. I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
you can always tell he's going to be wearing the red shirt and Dark Shadows. That's for sure.
He's not long for this world.
Sort of like the guy that Angelique sucked the life out of. You knew he was going to be the first red shirt.
He's a red shirt.
He wasn't very promotable as a human being. He was a sleazeball. It's kind of gross watching beautiful Laura Parker kiss this sleaze bucket. Even though she sucked the life out of him, but okay.
Well, Dark Shadows has a couple of tells in this. So, now that we've gone so far into it, now that they do have a couple of tells, it's like if they kind of come in and they kind of have like one line. Right. And then the evil character comes in and is like, that's it. We're not going to see them.
Well, no, it's just so funny how she dispatched me. She's going, kiss me. He's going, why, hell yeah, woohoo, kiss me. Then she just, he ends up like dead, and he's to see his feet from behind the couch. But I was expecting to see the Mummy movie where he was all dried up, after Imhotep gets everybody.
It's really the variant of the vampire thing because
it was
instead of biting the neck, she's just sucking the psychic life out of the lips and getting a nice smooch out of it too. I'm going to run and look up that name. I'll be right back, but you keep it because now I'm curious. I got to run to the other room to get it. But go ahead, talk.
Yeah. But I'm quite, but overall, if it wasn't for Chris Pennick, I don't know. I mean. If it wasn't for Chris Pennick playing this part here, I don't know if any of else could have been able to do that.
I don't think so.
I
mean, he really does seem to enjoy it. I mean, we find it a little kind of we bust on it a little bit, but he actually did a good job.
I mean, they were two separate characters. You know when it was, Jaeger coming on screen.
Right, exactly. Well, the black hair, the widow's peak. They kind of got rid of the shoe polish widow's peak as the things went going on.
But even if you go by the way the lines were being said and the way it was being acted, so if you like closed your eyes and just listen to the two characters, you could tell that they felt like two different characters.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Better.
I'm just trying to figure out why he incorporated this particular, this nuance from, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde in here. I'm just trying to figure out why he did that.
I think it's basically coming from going from professor to truck driver. I think it's more of that kind of feel to it. The rough part, the mild mannered professor, experimenter, and then Jaeger character is the kind of person who's basically at the docks, basically just betrayed, you know.
Right.
Sure. And that to me gives him a little bit of breathing room in a way, because it's the most we've seen of that segment of society in the Dark Shadows universe. Again, bringing back this idea of women as victims of domestic abuse. You know, he gets into that very heavily. But here's the deal. I think Jan Jaeger has some positive qualities. I know that sounds odd, but especially in his context, he has some positive qualities, because look at Steve. You know, are we at that point yet? That's 996. And, you know, when that's the other woman Elizabeth Ice is kind of involved in. And Speech is no prize. He's real grabby. And when Jaeger kind of dukes it out with him, I don't have a lot of sympathy for Steve. It seems like Jaeger kind of fits in that universe a little bit. And you know, the other question about Jaeger is, if we look at the differences between him and Cyrus is a very political character. You know, Cyrus is going to kind of talk his way through things, and Jaeger's very direct. I don't know. I mean, if I'm Quentin Collins, I trust Cyrus, but everyone else, okay, you know, maybe Cyrus is out for his experiments, etc. However, I think Jaeger would be a very loyal friend. It could just be that Jaeger is this giant id, and that this happens to be a storyline where people are getting in his way. I've often wondered, what would a weekend in New York be like if John Jaeger were your best friend? I mean, you'd wind up arrested.
End up at the Pussycat Theater or something like that, you know?
Well, or the Hi-Hat Lounge.
The Hi-Hat Lounge.
Take him to Christopher's.
The Hi-Hat. Take me to the Hi-Hat.
By the way, that was Ken McEwen, everybody.
Oh, okay.
That was Ken McEwen. He was the technical director, and he had his little 15 minutes in the sun getting smooched and killed by Angelique.
Okay.
And
there are worse ways to go.
And
yes, definitely.
He didn't do a bad job acting. You know, he was on there for a few days, you know, setting up his lawyer thing and having his little scenes with Mad Jaeger and so forth. And
you're not talking about Gladstone, right?
No, I'm talking about
you're talking about the lawyer.
I'm talking about Larry Chase. The
okay. Yeah,
the glasses and the dark hair, the tall guy. That was the technical director.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
That was the technical director of Dark Shadows, Ken McEwen.
Yeah, he didn't do bad at all, actually. I didn't know that's who he was.
And he's only one of two crew members who came on. The other one came on at the very last end of the show, and that's a trivia question, and we'll talk about that for.
I know who that is.
Yes,
but my lips are sealed.
That's right. That's it.
Now,
we're going to talk about that.
Thing you brought up Horace Gladstone. We brought up the Hi-Hat Lounge. There is a rare Viewmaster reel of, I don't know when this was broadcast. It's not part of the. It was one of those skipped episodes. But where they go to the Hi-Hat Lounge, and John Harkins is leading the all-male review. So if you can track down that Viewmaster reel, it's breathtaking.
It's on a Viewmaster reel.
3D has never been more 3D than
like
John Harkins in a posing pouch.
It's like an experimenting Kaja-Fo. I would have liked to have seen Garth Blackbird come on that one.
See that. Someone's got that out
there. That is a bird of an ostrich feather.
Well, if you're gonna, you know, if it is a casual full, I've got a feeling you'd probably be seeing Roger there more than you'd be seeing any of the other characters there.
That's what you think. No, you can't keep Roger off the honeys.
I have to sit there and say, though, what I did find interesting about Jaeger was this sexual tension between him and Buffy. I mean, after he goes in after Buffy, I mean, she's scared of him, but she has this yearning that she wants more, which is kind of odd.
Oh.
It's kind of
well, they love to hate each other, kind of too.
Well, I mean, he roughs her up, and I think she kind of. Well, basically, weren't they supposedly having rough sex? But nobody's going to say that. But it looked like rough sex to me.
They just were.
Well, I mean,
the camera leaves the room. She's kind of disheveled. He's pulling his clothes back on.
Precisely. And then she's asking, and then when he does appear again, she's kind of like, oh, keep away from me. Yes, no, yes, no.
Your mouth is saying no, but your eyes are saying yes. Please come over here and rough hook me now. Yeah. Basically,
a bit like Pepe Le Pew. So it was quite interesting in its own way. So I think this brings us to see. Oh, excuse me?
No, nothing. Please continue.
Okay. So I think this will bring us to scene 4, and then there is this. And this is basically the odds and ends of what's going on in between these storylines. And it's Bruno panics when Quentin reports he saw the ghost of Dameon Edwards. Dameon's ghost appears to Bruno. Bruno tells Cyrus that he believes Angelique made Dameon's spirit appear. Trask, the butler, tells Dameon's ghost that Bruno was responsible for his murder. Angelique, determined to banish the ghost of Dameon, begins a special ceremony.
Wait, where does Dameon come from? Where does Dameon come from?
I got totally lost. I don't know this Dameon thing. I need someone to help explain what.
Yeah, I don't know where he came from either.
Well,
central casting.
Central casting. Well, I kind of figured that, but I mean, he just pops up. He's just random, right?
He's a former lover, I think, of Angelique's. As far as I remember.
Yeah, and it looks like Bruno killed him. And that was the whole secret that Trask was, which means that, Bruno was one of the loves of one of Angelique's. She had a whole line of them down the street. And
I mean, I think Angelique had more men in her than the Trojan horse, from what I can tell.
No kidding. It's just like, the woman's a one-woman USO show at this point. Seriously.
Even little Daniel has got this. You wonder.
Now I draw the line there. Wait, what are you saying?
What if Daniel didn't draw the line there? I mean,
I'm from Kentucky, so this could mean a lot.
I'm from Brooklyn.
It'd be worse if it was Arkansas.
This means even more.
I would just say that Daniel came out of there and he yearns to go back home. That's all I'm saying.
There's a scene where she's comforting Daniel as Alexis, and it's blue light and it's on Daniel's bed. And if you don't look, if you don't look carefully enough, it almost looks as if her leg is across Daniel's leg. And I think they kind of change it for the next minute so that it looks more proper. But and of course they never meant to establish that kind of nonsense.
Oh God, I would think so.
But again, this is another repeat of the David Laura thing,
right?
And it is, and of course Hennessy is so good at doing this by now. Mother, but it's where is there anything original in this? And and that's supposedly a big piece of this block, and it's supposed to be a lynching pin because all the other characters are not sure. Quentin can't believe she's alive. Sabrina is somehow enchanted, but otherwise you don't know what the hell is going on. Everybody else.
Who the hell's Dameon? Who the hell's Dameon? Where did he come from?
Dameon is another lover.
Dameon, that's right.
I know.
I was going to say it could have been Bruno. In another world, it could have been Bruno's lover, and he offed him. That's what it looked like to me for a while.
Because basically,
I wouldn't rule that out.
Bruno and Dameon?
Dameon
together wouldn't have bothered me at all. I mean, it would have made things interesting, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, the problem basically is David comes in as a ghost. Oh, he's come back, and then it's like, oh, he's come back. Oh, he can't be back. He's dead. Or he's come back. It's like, well, who's Dameon? And they're like, and by the time that they tell you, it's like, I don't care anymore. It's just like, and then he's gone. It's just like, well, where did this come from? Like, it's almost like it's like this. Look what we filmed earlier. But I'll tell you what. Maybe we should just slice it in here somewhere. Maybe or it just didn't feel coherent with what was going on. It's kind of like, and then you find it out. It's like, well, that was a big hoo-ha about non because since by the time Dameon's character is gone, we now found out that Angelique pretty much, basically had her wrapping arms and legs around everyone in Collinsport anyway. So what would Dameon make its difference to anyway? Bruno's had a way with her. It looks like, John Carlin's character, it looks like there's something
you
going
get
on
assigned,
there. Quentin.
You get assigned a number at the DMV.
Yeah.
It's just part of living there. It's like it's on your tax return.
And it's number 20062.
Okay, I'm up. I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, she's looking great. About 3.
In the meantime, while you're waiting, you can hear "Ode to Angelique" in the music. While you're waiting,
Sure.
to get taken. Oh, that was another awful. And I'm sure we've discussed on and
I actually
on
like
on.
all the big hits of Dark Shadows, right from the Blue Whale and the episode.
They did.
All the way to Quentin's theme, Maggie's theme, Angelique's theme. The composer really is quite good because it really kind of stay with you. They do.
Sure.
Well, that's sure.
Whether you love or hate
That's
them, they stay
velvet.
with you.
Sure, that's
There's a melancholy,
hit.
there's a melancholy feel through all the music comes through Dark Shadows.
Well, it's not happy music. It's all sad music. There's nothing really upbeat and happy about it.
and all her
have
star-crossed
lyrics.
lovers are playing it. Which
I
is
have
amazing.
lyrics to Joanna if you ever want them.
Joanna?
Yeah, that's a song
you can-
that's coming up. That's 1840s.
Oh, okay. So there's more lyric. I don't remember. I was too young.
I wrote the lyrics. I had to write the lyrics, but I think they're magnificent.
What do you talk about? The Rose Cottage?
No. I just had to make something up that scanned. And I'll just say the beginning of it is, I'm wearing pants. They're made of lycra, and they cling to me in oh so many ways. They're just pants, you see, but pants for me to wear for all my days. And then there's a whole thing about lederhosen.
That's wonderful.
When I think of all the leather lederhosen that people wear in far-off Germany, I know they look, I think they are supposing that we all think that we are firm of knee. And then it just repeats itself.
I think it's funny because
Enjoy.
every time I see how the dress back then, I vaguely remember the dress. I remember, was it Ferris too, was on the radio all the time back then. And I just think it just cracks me up watching the clothing and stuff because I remember people wearing the plaid and the bell bottoms coming into the early 70s. And then I see that Laugh-In is on right after Dark Shadows. So I put that on. That's where it's just kind of funny to watch them side by side sometimes. So.
Well, I do kind of wish that Alexander Moki was back because I just have this feeling where basically I just have this feeling where Nancy Barrett and Alexander Moki are sitting in a room together and they're going, smoking a joint, and they go,
Something.
"What do you want to do next? I don't know what we can do. Let's sit back and let's iron each other's hair, man."
Just imagine.
Hey, we used to do that up until the 80s, so they didn't have straighteners back then.
Sure. Just imagine what this. If you were really doing a parallel time thing, imagine this where instead of Maggie, it's Angelique that Quentin has married. And instead of Angelique as his prior wife, it's Vicky.
That would be interesting.
And then it's her sister Veronica who shows up. You know? That would have been a cool piece of stunt casting.
Oh,
see, I actually would have preferred Maggie to be the Angelique character, and
I think that'd be great too.
Because
but I wonder. I mean, you just never see Maggie acting evil, hardly ever at all.
That's what would have been great about it. That's what would have been great. Instead of Maggie the victim, we got Maggie the bitch.
I would have loved that too.
She does tell Joe that he needs a restaurant that serves baby food. Don't forget that. That's
I don't
the
remember
shade.
that. I don't remember.
That's in the Adam storyline.
Well, Quentin's a real SOB in this timeline, by the way.
Yeah, he is. He's a misogynist pig, but I still love him.
Yeah, but I do think that I don't know how this Rebecca's storyline is going to edge out because we don't finish that storyline here. So
right.
But I thought, because as we were talking about earlier, that if you look at the film Rebecca or read the book Rebecca, Maximilian.
Did we do that one?
Yeah, we did. Where Maximilian's character basically comes across as quite a hard-edged character, but then we find out later that he never actually loved Rebecca. Basically,
right.
That Rebecca haunted him, and he hated her so much that he thought that he caused her death. And because he thought he caused her death, that basically the new wife basically was kind of getting the brunt of it, even though that he was more in love with the new wife than he was with her. So.
Well, Quentin didn't really give chance for the body to even get cold. 6 months. Who wants to marry a man after 6 months after his wife dies, a widower? I mean, that's just like having too many people in the relationship.
I don't want to marry a man at all, but I guess I'm open to it.
Each his own.
Well,
I'm willing to learn.
I mean, the thing is we don't really know where this courtship came from as far as this courtship with Maggie is concerned. Anyway,
no, there's no backstory yet. Again,
was he? I mean, right. What did he find her? Did he leave Collinswood, or did he find her at the Blue Whale? You know what I mean? It's kind of like
seems like everybody meets at the Blue Whale. Wait, it's not called the Blue Whale in this.
It's the Eagle. It's the
Eagle. Yeah, the Eagle.
The Eagle, which is on the ocean, which doesn't make much. I mean, better if they just call it the Seagull, maybe. I don't know.
The Osprey, the Pelican, something.
Pelican, yeah, precisely.
But in the first seance, Quentin was supposedly seen choking Angelique. So I don't see why he wouldn't want to get married to her.
Well, I mean, what's the deal with that dream, though? I'm kind of confused. Okay, why is Maggie having the dream about...
Well, Angelique's gaslighting Maggie anyway. So, I mean, so these dreams that Maggie's having, I mean...
She's not a witch, but she's capable of projecting that shit out there?
Well, she's a emotional or psychic incubus, or what you called it before. I mean,
succubus, whatever,
more along those lines.
Well, the succubus is what Angelique is. Right. The incubus is the male equivalent of the succubus.
That would be Bruno.
So she's the succubus. So the thing is, as far as I'm not quite sure what powers the succubus has anyway, but what we're seeing Maggie experience doesn't necessarily mean that is the truth of the reality of what really went on either.
Right.
Because she's gaslighting Maggie at the moment, so it's really kind of hard to figure out. I mean, did Quentin,
well, she got all those letters.
We don't know.
And then Quentin's yelling at her for finding the letters. Well, that she had a dream about the letters, that they were in the small drawer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's he doing going through Quentin's things anyway? I probably would have been a bit annoyed.
Well, women, we fluff. If you get a chance, you fluff.
Yeah, but then again, if I got something in a locked box and you got it out of that locked box, I'm going to be like,
no, I would never do something like that.
It's not like you just went to the cupboard and
okay, I've got call it human nature. How many people peer behind other people's shower curtains when you're taking a leak in somebody else's bathroom? Everybody does it. Everybody.
I don't. I go through their medicine cabinet, but I don't go behind.
I knew you went through something.
Hang on. Let me get this straight. You're asking me if I peer through the shower curtain when someone's taking a leak. I'm not in the shower. I'm not in the shower when they're taking a leak.
No, I'm saying people are nosy.
Maybe when they're taking a leak in the shower.
In bathrooms, and that's basically what she got caught doing.
I don't take a leak in the shower. I take a shallot.
A shallot.
It's onion humor.
I'll be completely honest. If I go to someone's house and I have to use their bathroom, I do kind of open up the medicine cabinet and look at it and shut the door.
I always see if there's anything in there good.
You can tell a lot. You can tell a lot about what's behind.
Especially all their psychotropic drugs. Yeah.
You can find out. Well, you can tell if they're a hypochondriac. You can tell if they're not a hypochondriac. You can tell
okay. So I have a question.
Okay.
Somebody name a Dark Shadows character, and I want to know what the weirdest thing in their medicine cabinet is. Roger Collins.
Viagra.
How about David?
He is Viagra.
How about Julia, all those sedatives?
I know. She's just a walking pharmacy. Let me give you a sedative. Almost every episode, she's trying to drug somebody with a sedative. Let me get you a sedative. Or Liz is trying to drug somebody with a sedative.
Elizabeth doesn't just be nothing but Xanax. She just have a whole medicine cabinet full of Xanax.
No shit, man. Liz is always so chill. You know, Liz be hitting Mama's little helper all the time.
Yeah. And David probably just had Flintstone multivitamins.
Flintstone, well, they still sell those, you know. Asher takes them. He's getting much too, what is it? He doesn't like any of that shit anymore. He's really getting, what's the word? When you're getting older and too cool for certain things.
Sure. He's got to age. He's got to get the Quest for Fire ones.
Yeah.
The Quest for Fire multivitamins. That's what the older kids get. Yeah. Or Clan of the Cave Bear multivitamins.
I might be looking for the Quest for Fire vitamins.
Yeah. It's still,
up all, you know what? Every time I think of that movie, it brings up all kinds of, you know, scenic beach themes to me or something. Or radon.
Quest for Fire?
Well, every time you bend over in that movie, Quest for Fire, someone is right on your backside. Really.
Somebody's right there. It's tough to be Radon Chong. I'm amazed she didn't do another movie.
I know.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Movies that cry for a sequel.
Yes, they do. Or a reboot.
It's Quest for Fire Extinguisher.
There you go. And getting back to scene 4, I just wanted to also say that Bruno, that the lines they gave Bruno remind me of Aristide too much. I mean, Bruno runs to...
he's the same character. He's just a
literally
universe, basically.
He begs to...
The same character, just a hell of a lot more hair.
Not more hair. Lots and lots.
You gotta help me. It's my wish. You gotta take me into, you know, I can't, you know, I mean, I can't let Dameon get me. It's incredible. He's just like Aristide with Pitafi again. So what difference is that? This is a really makeover of 1897 with a number of characters, which they just switched over to a parallel time.
I don't think it's that. I think the characters are more unique than that in this. I don't think they're exactly the same, Tom.
Well,
I kind of with Bruno's character though. I mean,
but with Bruno's character, Tom's right.
Yeah,
I mean, what I kind of wanted to see with Bruno's character is to have him dressed like those crash test dummies, and just see what would happen to his hair if he hit a brick wall. See if it actually protected his head.
Well, I mean, he brushes it back, and they didn't have blow dryers. Did they have blow dryers back then?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they just coming out?
Sure, they did.
They had those big things at the beauty salon.
Oh, that's right. Those things you stick your head in.
The tabletop models with the bags.
I mean, I don't know if he had.
Hose,
yeah, I don't know if he had one of those portable hair dryers, but I know that in every episode he was windswept.
He was definitely windswept. He's been on the Oklahoma plains for quite some time. Yes.
Well, I think this brings us to scene 5 now, which Barnabas is stuck on repeat. We'll call this. David and Amy find Barnabas' portrait. In the parallel time room, Quentin sees Elizabeth and Julia discussing Barnabas' disappearance. Will Loomis releases Barnabas from his coffin, guarding him carefully. Quentin meets Barnabas. They later see Julia in the parallel time room. Daniel recognizes Barnabas, who tries to make the boy forget they'd met. In a rage, Quentin slashes Maggie's portrait and recalls his dream of the hanging man. Barnabas escapes, goes to Maggie's bedroom, and bares his fangs again in preparation to attack her.
Bites Buffy.
And then Barnabas bites Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So,
Buffy! Who plays Buffy?
Elizabeth Eyes.
Okay.
And she played, it's an interesting story about her, by the way.
Proceed.
Okay. Well, and Chris Pennock told this when we interviewed him. And he felt very, very bad about it. So so those sword knives that they gave the John Yeager character,
Right.
pulled the sword out and there's a knife. Well, they made two types of knives. One was a prop and one was a real one. And maybe because at that time, there may have been some scenes where you had to actually cut some stuff and you need a real knife for it. Well, Pennock grabbed the wrong knife one day, and he is supposed to hold Elizabeth I's Buffy by the throat and take the knife and also slowly inch it towards her neck. That was the real knife. He accidentally, it was just a little cut, but they shut the scene. She went crazy. He never heard, he liked May, rest in peace, talked about salty language. Said, you never heard such salty language coming out of Elizabeth I's in her life. And he tried to apologize. And you almost killed me with that fucking thing. What the fuck's the matter with you? What is the matter with you, idiot? You fucking bastard. I'm really
Tom,
sorry.
Tom, how's the medication coming?
Yeah, right. How's that Vicodin, Tom?
It does tend to
Resident drug addict
augment
here.
things. For those fans that were not aware, I'm currently under medical treatment for two fractured toes. Isn't that wonderful? You should never have that in your life.
I stub my toes all the time, but they don't give me drugs for it.
Oh, well, for the pain.
I need your
I've broken
doctors.
mine more than once.
For the pain, because I have to walk on these things, and also get a lot of rest. But there's really nothing you can do except tape them and pray.
Yeah.
And so
for six to 8 weeks.
So it very well could be 4 weeks per each. So it very well could be that is influence.
I have to ask, what did you do to your toes?
I had a fall.
Okay.
And,
damn, Tom. Take care of yourself.
And with that,
I'm just nosy.
Of course you are. And with that, I certainly didn't do a dancing with Ginger Rogers. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But it was quite a painful experience.
Is this the first time we see a portrait of Maggie?
What's that?
Oh, that portrait's god awful.
Isn't
oh my
it?
God. Who in the props department did Catherine Lee Scott make furious?
I don't know, but I just was wondering if you guys thought it sucked as bad as I did.
Oh, it's terrible.
I like the Barnabas character, but every time I see him in a coffin coming out of a coffin, it's like, oh, here we go again. I just feel like
with the chains. Don't forget the chains.
Yeah, but there just seems to be a repeat of this, and then he goes to bite Maggie, and it's like, oh my god, are we gonna go back to Josette time again? Because he's like the Josette stalker of all time now. So
wash, rinse, repeat. Yeah.
And next time you look at the coffins on, if you ever have enough time or no time, you look at each coffin is a different color. It starts out as gold, and then the next thing you know, it's blue and old, and it's got scratches all over it.
Right.
And the next time it's brown and old, it's got scratches.
I did notice that.
And then it's gold again. And so they must be playing musical coffins with.
I'm just trying to figure out where they bought their coffins, because I've been to I'm half Italian, so I've been to my share of funerals that open caskets, but I have never seen a casket that just lays you top like that. You kind of go in a little bit to get cozy.
I think he was shopping at Harold and Maude's for the coffin for the thing. So,
I would have loved to have seen a parallel time segment where Michael Stroker, who really did look enough like Frid, could have been Barnabas.
He could have. He really could have.
And so he could have been the Barnabas in the parallel time, meeting Frid from our time.
That would have been legit.
The thing is, though, Barnabas probably would. If parallel time, Barnabas probably would have died an old man or a young man.
They would have had to change that. They would have had to change that whole Will Loomis thing of.
He wasn't when he came. Okay, did he turn back into a vampire when he went into the parallel time? He was human until he got.
He was still fighting the whole vampire.
Okay, that's right. Julia was giving him injections. Okay, that's right.
It wasn't working.
Okay, I remember.
I mean, the question that this does vary for me when it comes to Barnabas and his time traveling and stuff like this. That I think that these people probably would have been fine and happy, and their lives probably would have gone on probably quite carelessly well. But every time Barnabas enters someone's storyline, it kind of like the whole guy's kind of askew. I mean,
he is like the Prince of Darkness, isn't he?
Well, no, he's kind of this person, that kind of person that's always trying to help, and no matter what they try to do to
makes
help
it
you,
worse.
Makes it worse. Yeah, and I kind of get this feeling about Barnabas. Now that we've seen him travel enough times now, sometimes I kind of want to like, it's almost like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to become part of their time. And you're kind of like, no, Barnabas, no, they're actually quite happy right now.
Yeah, go away, Barnabas. It's like, oh shit, Barnabas is showing up in our timeline again. Like, get rid of him.
Oh no! He's like, I used to love my mother. Now since he's appeared, I can't stand her. What happened? So it's like,
that's true. He is the harbinger of doom. He is.
Yeah.
By the way, we see.
And the more he meddles, the worse it becomes.
I know. Poor Angelique. She's all happy, but then again, her husband was kind of a douche canoe. He was covert. He was in league with the bad guys. But even she looked really happy. Then here enters Barnabas, and she's happily married finally, and that all went to hell.
Sky Rumson.
Well, yeah. I mean, the 1800s. I mean, basically, is like. I mean, he made that even worse than what it was anyway. By the time he got done, I mean, no one knew where they were coming and going.
Right.
Now he's starting to cement himself more into these people's storylines here in this parallel time. And he's not fixing anything. He's kind of just making it worse.
Right.
Like, he's like the nosy neighbor. It's like, just stay out of my business. I'll be fine. It's like, please.
That's what usually winds up doing. That's for sure. Oh, and
what's with the hanging man? Before I forget, I keep meaning to ask about the hanging man. I know that means something. Who's the hanging man? Is it Quentin?
Are you talking about the Tower of Destruction kind of thing?
No, I don't think it's the Tower of Destruction.
Maggie's portrait. Basically, Quentin slashes Maggie's portrait and recalls his dream of the hanging man.
Oh.
He sees a hanging man.
Yeah. I don't know that one yet. We'll get to.
Maybe it'll clear up in the next block.
Well, I hope so. Inquiring minds want to know.
I'm going to say, speaking of inquiring minds, Ken McMillan plays one appearance as the bartender in this block. But before that, Bob McConnell, who had been the bartender extra all along, portrayed his last appearance on Dark Shadows in the preceding block. So we want to say thanks to Bob McConnell, and nobody else would probably have remembered that. But that's his last appearance in the last block. And now they're going to have to look for other bartenders. And this guy isn't Ken McMillan. He went on to a lot of stuff in TV and radio and so forth and movies.
Doesn't he play Baron Harkonnen?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Who's it? What did he play?
Baron Harkonnen, the heartthrob in the original Dune.
Yep.
Sting?
No, his uncle. That floating fat man. Yeah.
Plug? Yeah. I would say he's not a heartthrob. That's for you lost me.
He was for certain fetishists.
Well, I know that there's a market.
Vicky, that was called sarcasm.
What's that?
That was called sarcasm.
I was making the ha-ha.
Well, no, I was sitting there trying to think of who was hot in the first Dune. There's like two guys that might pass. And in the new one, we got Mike Momoa, and yeah.
Josh Brolin.
I mean,
I can't wait for the second Dune because the first one was boring. I said it.
Well, then why are you waiting for the next one? I mean, there's no guarantee it's going to be. It never gets better than
they're going to make it. No, because they had to set it all up. I'm really a fan of the old Dune. Now I really loved it.
I am too. It's a favorite movie of mine.
I loved the books. I did.
But I do think that we are now in a thingy where they're going to actually divide things up by multiple parts. Wicked, the musical, is going to be released in 2 parts.
No, really?
Yes. Yeah.
A musical?
Act 1, a year later.
Why in 2 parts though?
Who knows?
if they didn't need to do that with Into the Woods,
I thought you were
which
just
is the
saying
only
the
musical I can think of that's made for that kind of treatment, you don't need to do it. You know what? They already split Wicked into two parts. The first is called Wizard of Oz.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And
That is.
I hate modern life.
I mean, if they were going to like film the book of Wicked, and the book is so much, it's a superior book. I highly recommend reading it. I can understand breaking that up because that's a very
big book.
written book, and it's not so much big, but
it's big for me because it's got
a lot in it.
It's too compartmentalized and stuff, and I have to actually think and remember. Write notes to the side.
But you also have to deal with all the politics that are going on, and so on and so forth. But the musical,
it is kind of political with the way everything turned out after the fact, when everything else is all said and done.
Yeah. It's a book about the politics of Oz, really.
Yeah.
So, saying that, why don't we get to best storyline and worst storyline? And we'll start off with you, Tom. What's your best storyline and your worst storyline of this block?
The worst storyline, as far as I'm concerned, is simply redoing the soap opera elements from some of the first year and putting them into parallel time. As I mentioned, David with Laura approximating Daniel and Angelique. Hoffman. I don't know if Grayson overacts, but she just gushes over the Angelique character so much. I mean, you think
the gushing over her dead mistress coming back?
Yeah,
well, that's Rebecca stuff for you, though.
Yeah, but Rebecca were lesbian undertones, wasn't it?
I was just thinking.
She has a crush on her. She's crushing on her, definitely. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, but there's no. I mean, everybody loves Angelique. Nobody really, Quentin is really the only one. And for some reason, because of the way they've introduced,
I feel sorry for Maggie. She has to feel so inadequate as a woman. This is ridiculous.
There's no doubt. But she ran off finally. She couldn't take it anymore. And
I don't blame her. There's portraits of a dead woman, and everybody loves her. And treating her like this insignificant piece of old shoe leather.
And incidentally, you'll hear Quentin talking to the sister Jennifer on the phone. Now, I don't know. I'm sure that Pat knows about this, but that role originally was to go to Marie Wallace.
Right. Who
was supposed to come back, and
she didn't come back though
because she got a part on Another World, and
that's right. Oh my God.
And she said, "As soon as they staked me on one show, here I am in another one." I
remember Louis Edmonds played on All My Children. I loved him in All My Children.
But he obviously was able to wait until Shadows was finished.
Yeah, he did. He didn't get in there until mid-70s, I think. I cannot recall his character, but his name, but he was the rich guy, the opposing rival.
Langley.
I think that
Langley.
Yeah. I think that what they could have done, the worst storyline, is really make it a better storyline.
I love Opal.
Instead of borrowing from too many things. And the Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Well, we'll have to see what, Yeager is certainly to be seen in terms of the performance that Chris Pennock gives him.
Right.
But I don't think he's any John Barrymore. I'll tell you that much.
You know what? But I don't think his performance sucks, considering it was a live show and they have to keep throwing clothing and makeup on and off him.
Right.
And I think he pulled it off. Like he said, you can't tell the difference. You can tell, like, if you're not looking, that they're two different characters. And I agree with that. I think he did a bang-up job on that. Irregardless of the storyline, it didn't really make me happy.
Except that Buffy wanted to kick his ass for him almost killing her.
Well, Buffy likes rough sex. We already established that.
Best storyline. I think that's to come. And what I like about the idea of the parallel time characters meeting the actual time characters, I thought that was probably a saving grace and something to look forward to. I did like the idea of Elizabeth and Julia discussing Barnabas's disappearance, and Quentin seeing that. And
is that when Quentin walked into the room and he saw the time room from?
That's right. He saw
our time, not
he saw
the
our
other
time room. He
our
saw our time room, and he saw our Elizabeth and Dr. Julia Hoffman discussing Barnabas's disappearance. And so Quentin had no idea that Julia was a doctor at all in that room. And in the meantime, finally, Barnabas is released from his House of Dark Shadows stuff. So he Will releases him from the coffin.
He's back in black.
And he's back in black. And now it's the Barnabas Angelique show.
Yep, it certainly is.
And that brings on an extra dimension to it, which, quite frankly, I mean, as lovely as Laura Parker is, and I don't think you see any blocks of shadows where her beauty doesn't shine more. I mean, it's incredible the job they did with her as Alexis, and she got the chance to play a good gal, although nobody really believed it until the end. And I do want to also say that on YouTube, I don't know if you caught it, Pat, but on YouTube there is a very rare rehearsal scene.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
With Angelique, where you hear a real accent.
Yeah.
What accent? Right. I'm lost.
Her southern accent.
She has a Knoxville accent. She's in Knoxville.
She does? Well, yeah, she would, wouldn't she?
Yeah, I remember when we were interviewing her.
She's got the Tennessee accent, and she's in curlers and nightgown, and it's on the cemetery set. And who is she yakking with? Layla Smith? I'm trying to.
Layla or Henry, one of them.
Layla Swift
I still put on those
Henry
headphones.
Kaplan.
I put on headphones, and I'm still trying to make out stuff they're saying in the background. I'll be danged if I can hear everything.
She's pissed off about Henry Cap. What was that?
You asked me once upon a time to listen on headphones to see what I could hear on certain episodes. And you can hear the sputtering in the back, but I cannot make it out without like a Audacity.
Really, you have to have very, very sophisticated equipment. But they're jawing at each other because Laura does not like the way the scene is being played, and there she is sitting on she's sitting on the coffin with her curls and
I think it's the pace of she's upset about the pace of the cue cards. I think
is that it.
I think that was one of the things that she's upset about.
Is it too slow or is it too not fast?
It's too slow.
Enough? Too slow.
Yeah,
I can see where that would annoy her probably because she's really on target. You know, the one thing I do enjoy about I'll wait till it's my turn.
What's that?
Patrick, what's your best storyline and worst storyline of this block?
Well, anything having to do with John Yeager, I'm fascinated by, and I think maybe there is. It's not that John Yeager is too much for the rest of the world. I think there's not enough rest of the world for John Yeager.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I really think he's this wonderful colossal id who experiences often pure joy, and it's the pure joy of utter immorality, and that's a very complicated thing to navigate. So I'm big on that. On the other side, I have an incredibly difficult time watching the character of Quentin in this and trying to feel any kind of sympathy for him because he is such a bully.
I understand. I agree with you. You. We have been raised on the 1897 Quentin, who first was a ne'er-do-well, but really didn't have any responsibility or care to take responsibility for what was happening. He really wasn't a mean person. He was a scallywag, but he really wasn't a mean person, and he really wasn't a dictator, and he really wasn't a bully and stuff like that.
He was a happy-go-lucky drunk playboy kind of,
and a great uncle. You see him through the eyes of Jameson.
He loved the kids. He loved the kids.
And then the werewolf thing, and then he becomes, the Don Briscoe thing transfers into him, and he's and Barnabas feels terrible for him, and now he's another one of those I can't help what I'm doing. What can I do, and how can I make things up to people after I've met them in the dawn and see their faces chewed up? And here I will say one thing. He gets along very well with David. Obviously, David loves him. Daniel.
Right.
Daniel loves him, and Amy, and he really acts like a good parent with them when he needs to. He's Uncle Amy, he's Uncle Quentin, but he's a very good parent with them. He's a very good, they respect him. They communicate with him. They make sense with him. This is something he wasn't able to do with Jameson, because Jameson in the end never trusted him.
Right.
And but here he's a Ward Cleaver, and I guess that's a byproduct of the fact that he's master of the house. All I surveyed. You do what I say. Not,
Well, you don't get a chance to see him be master of the house usually.
So. Well, you do here.
Yeah.
You do in Parallel Time. In Parallel Time, he is master of the house, and Selby plays it to the ninth. I mean, he lets people. He's boss.
Poor Roger. He's always let down, no matter what era it is. He never
Roger's
gets to
weak
control
here.
the house hardly.
Roger's got those great scarf rings. He's got those great scarf rings, though. You can't discount that.
He's dressed pretty snazzy. I'll give you that.
But I do hand it to Quentin. He's a bully here. You can't get to really like the character for the way he pushes Maggie around and pushes everybody else around. But
I agree.
That secondary thing to him with the kids, that's interesting. And one wonders where that's going to go.
Gotcha.
And Vicky, what's your best storyline and worst storyline?
Well, best storyline. I like the Angelique storyline, where I do like the Rebecca storyline because I love the novels and all that stuff too. But I really like that she's always been surrounded by all the other beautiful women of Dark Shadows, and this is like her time to shine. And I really am enjoying watching her do so. And so I'm just enjoying it. I want to see I can't wait to see where it goes. Like I said, I can't remember any of this, so it's all new to me. And God, I hate to say I hate the Dr. Jekyll stuff. I kind of do. And it's just not Pennick's fault. He's actually pulling it off extremely well. I'm just trying to figure out why he used this for filler when he could have done other things, I guess. Because Dr. Jekyll's already overdone at that point. You had all the Hammer movies coming out before this, and you had horror movies. Everybody saw, Murders at the Brute Morgue, that kind of stuff, I guess, maybe. And I don't know. I would have loved to have seen a different Borrow, maybe from another novel, I guess.
They had done most of the big ones, I think.
Not Frank. Oh, they did do Frankenstein.
They did Frankenstein.
There's nothing left. What's left?
Yeah. This is one of the majors. If you look at the big monsters that they had access to, they don't have access to Creature from the Black Lagoon.
No, they can't. But they did do
Grayson occasionally.
Well, they did do Lovecraft, kind of, sort of,
Well, they did, but the Crawling Chaos is not a good guest star.
Yeah, true.
You can't send him to the Tonight Show.
I was just waiting for the sacrifice and the virgin birth and the conception and all that good stuff. So,
yeah, they weren't going to get a virgin birth with Carolyn. Newsflash.
But now that was really it. I don't know why. I guess I was kind of expecting something else, and it's not that the acting is bad. It's not at all. It's just the storyline, and that's where I'm sticking to right now.
My worst storyline has to be the Dameon Edwards thing. I don't know. I just feel like
probably because you don't know where he fits in the storyline. Whose storyline does he fit into?
So I found that problematic. And as far as best, I really don't have a best because I kind of look at this block and I kind of shake my head a little bit because there are so many great things they could have done, but for some reason, we got the Tomb of Ligeia that's going on with the Angelique storyline. We got Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Robert Louis Stephenson. We had Du Maurier's Rebecca. and none of them are fully realized. They could have done something fantastic with it, but they're kind of like hit upon. And it's kind of like watching a greatest hits without the context behind it. And though everyone's really, really fine, I just kind of wish that at this point that they had more faith in their newcomers. Because if you look at this, these are all the newcomers that have come on the show for the last couple of months.
Right.
And they could have done something really interesting, like as we discussed. Maggie could have been the Angelique character, and Angelique could have been the Maggie character.
That would have been cool. That would have been really cool. As far as the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I mean, it's okay. I mean, but they could have gone. They went pretty far for a daytime soap opera. I have to take my hats off for that. But at the same time, they might have wanted to spend a little bit more time on it. The thing is, they were kind of hitting on it, and then they disappear. Like Rebecca, they hit on it. Then there's other stuff happens, and now that's true. They don't ever finish. They don't finish. They don't. I mean, they start out. They get you interested, and then it's gone. So yeah,
I mean, we'll wait and see where we are. We'll wait and see where we go by the end of this. But yeah, it would just been nicer if they, just had more of a realization of where they were going.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Now we get to our least and favorite character. Starting with you, Vic. Who's your favorite character and who's your least favorite character?
My least favorite character, I hate picking on him all the time. It was probably Bruno. Actually, no, I'm going to scratch that. It's the ghost that we don't know where he fits into this Edwards.
Dameon.
Right? Dameon. He does not fit. I mean, he's a great ghost, but I don't know where we're going with Dameon. I just know that I think that Bruno killed him. So I guess maybe that'll be the answer. I hope.
Bruno killed him.
And Dameon comes back to warn Quentin.
He does what?
He comes back to warn Quentin about Bruno.
Oh, well, that's true. I guess I don't know. I just didn't do enough of it with me. And my favorite character. God, there were so. I did have a lot of favorite characters, regardless of the storyline. I'm gonna have to go with. I don't know. I'm gonna go with actually not David Selby, but Willie. Yeah.
Will.
Yeah, because he gets to do something different, but he's still kind of a sniveling little whatever. But I mean, and I hate when they do that to him in a long time because he's such an excellent actor. And I love how he's married to Carolyn, and he's got control of the old house. But he's a little more spin with him why he's opening up the casket and still got the chains on it and everything. But I like watching his diversified character in this because he's just fun to watch. I've liked all of the things he was in, even TV sitcoms and series or whatever, anything that he's been on. Yeah, I mean, he's just a good actor, and it was nice to see him get a chance to kind of break away from usual Will to, something a little different. He gets the beautiful girl in this one.
And what about yourself, Patrick? Who's your favorite and least favorite character of this block?
John Yeager's my favorite. My least favorite, probably, Horace Gladstone, someone like that. I mean, was he even in this section? I
think he was.
Quentin, honestly, Quentin. Nothing against David Selby. Great actor.
Did they make him look like a misogynist pig on purpose in these episodes? Because it's hard to watch. Because after talking to him personally, he's such a nice guy. And he does, he just doesn't seem like that. But I mean, David Selby definitely outdid himself. He could be a really bad guy and he could be a really good guy. He's really a great actor.
I'll tell you, I asked a cast member once about this storyline, and I said, were you aware that the monster in the storyline really is Quentin? And they said, yes.
See, I wasn't aware yet.
Yeah.
But I think that now that's good though, because now I know what to look for. Well, I'm kind of catching on to it right now because of Maggie's dream. So.
And what about yourself, Tom? Who's your favorite and least favorite character of this block?
It's hard for me to separate the fact that the plots were so repetitive from the characters who played them, and it's really not fair
Tom,
because
I'm
the
going to have to
writers-
honestly say this is the first time I've ever known you not to be happy with a block of dark shadows.
Yeah. Thank you for keeping records. I am so. It goes to show you I can be fair. I'm such a fan of the show, and I'm always looking to find good things about it. While realizing that there are certain things like when they had 46 bloopers in one block, and it took me a million years to do those bloopers for this show. I was not happy about that, but I would say that I am. If there's anything I am happy about, is the things I think are going to get better once Frit comes back, and he's going to put the Barnabas edge on the show, and he does give this kind of pizzazz to the rest of the show, and you really see for the first time what was life like without the Barnabas character for a month, and frankly,
I missed him.
Yeah, I think we all did. I didn't miss the coffins. They even had the coffins changing colors every day, maybe to wake people up. But
I know what was with that. Now that I think of that,
it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I didn't pick it up at first. I'm saying because the first one that they had was a gold coffin, and I said to myself, well, they finally gave Frid what he was due. They gave him a gold coffin after all those little wooden ones and stuff you see.
Cheap ass caskets. Those were cheap.
They gave him a nice goblin, and then after that they got about old, and old stuff. But I think that what's going to actors. I think the worst actor actually was not the Buffy guy, but the George Sums guy. I think that's the way they pronounce it. That was Buffy's extra boyfriend who was trying to put the make on her when John Yeager comes in and gives.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about him. Boy, they had a bunch of slimy dudes in this block, didn't they? Everybody's just oversexed and everything else.
This guy was awful. This guy says, "I'll get you. I don't care." He's beating the hell out of him. I'll still get you. And then
it did have its entertaining moments. I don't care.
Yeah. And then they meet in the Blue Whale docks, and gives him a nice beating up again. This time, Quentin breaks it up. I think he was the worst. I think he was the worst. I would tend to agree with you that the best does tend to be Selby, only because he is really able for the first time to be the guy not only you love to hate, but the guy you hate to hate, because he had really very saving graces about him. And as parallel time,
I was surprised how as time progressed and how douchey he was getting, because I'm not used to seeing that from Selby on this. And it was I thought it was just me. He's progressively getting ornerier and meaner. Yeah. It
was quite a shock. But I think I'm also looking at the point that watching this when I was a kid and just loving the idea of parallel time. And
it is cool. It is a cool concept.
And I knew Barnabas was going to come back. I mean, he kept him in the coffin. I knew he was going to come back sooner or later. I didn't know what the hell was going on at the time they were rehearsing for the movie. But seeing it back then, and now seeing it now with a different eye, and saying these are such rehashes of older plots, and it was like they were on hold until Frid came back. It's a lot more important to the show than even Curtis wanted to give him credit for. And now that Frid is back, and in the next block, we're going to see how that improves. So that's my 2 cents.
Keith, what about you?
My favorite and least favorite character. Least favorite character. Well, I'll go my favorite. My favorite character has to be Chris Pennick as Yeager. I just like the way that I like basically the characters. It was interesting, and I'm interested to see where that character is going to go and what's going to become of that character. That kind of
He's so villainous too.
No, my least favorite character, unfortunately for me, has to be Maggie in this block. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm just so sick of the whole victim Maggie thing. We've seen it so often. And as I said before, if they change roles a bit. I kind of wish that.
It would be nice.
I mean, I don't. The thing is that they had a chance to actually switch it up a little bit, and they didn't switch it up. They kept people to
sort of like
pretty much.
Mulkey, she wanted to be bad too, and they wouldn't do it. They just won't do it with certain ones. Well,
I mean, the thing is like, I do know that we're coming to the end of Maggie Evans and Kathleen Scott on the show anyway. That's coming up quite soon.
It's coming up.
Not yet though. But at the same time, it would have been quite nice just to, they all acted their roles well. There's nothing to do about their acting, but the character is kind of like, oh, here we got Maggie, the victim again, and I'm kind of like, okay,
it's not her fault. She's just written that way, so to speak.
Yeah, but as I said before, we were talking about the character, not the actor, sort of thing, and I just thought, okay, here we go again,
right?
And the only person that actually set me on fire basically was Chris Pennick's character Jaeger, because that was we're watching an actor do something kind of totally different than what we've seen, and that's what I liked.
For a daytime drama, especially.
It was, it wasn't Angelique being Angelique, where you couldn't differentiate between the Alexis and the Angelique character because you never actually saw what the Angelique character was anyway.
They did have a lot of novelization going on in this one. You're right about the.
I think if they spent a little bit more time developing these stories, I think that they could have been onto a real winner. But I think trying to mash 3 gothic novels into 40 episodes here.
They left out the Bronte sisters. That's who they left out.
We pretty much Wuthering Heights is pretty much there anyway. Very
right. That's a given.
This is the end of literary license. What?
I think the worst thing about this whole block, I'll talk about characters, is the eternal droning on and on of Ode to Angelique. By the time 2 weeks passed, you were just so sick of
the music.
Yeah,
that was like Baby Shark. After a while, I started singing it to myself, just like, oh my god, that. And what was that? Oh god, some movie, some song got. We were talking about that the other day. Some song got stuck in my head, and I'll be damned if I can remember what song it is. I think it was Stranger Things. It was that song from the Never Ending Story. I've been singing that for 3 flipping days because they started singing that.
Yeah, but
might have had something.
The thing is, I think that's lazy storytelling, actually, lazy script writing there. Because the thing is, you could have made Angelique an important part of what's going on without actually having it be thrown at you over and over again.
Right.
I think that. Maybe they were spending too much time. The movie was too important in the TV series. Maybe that was what was going on.
I think what they were hoping. Yeah, I think what they were hoping was it was going to hit the same kind of billboard.
Was it House of Dark Shadows they were doing? Was that the first one?
Yeah, okay. I think that they were hoping that they were going to that they were going to hit the same kind of.
Enter Jim Storm, right? Was he?
Yeah. Tom, you're right on the money. Tom, keep going. You're right on the money.
Yes. Thank you, Pat. They were hoping that it was going to hit the same kind of billboard effect as Quentin's theme did, and the reason it didn't, I think, was because the Quentin's theme had a character attached to it that you could empathize, symbolize, handsome son of a gun, but tortured and so forth.
Right.
And that's why Quentin's theme, they could have played that, and they did. They played that 1,000,000 times, and no one ever got tired of it. Especially when they really hit that thing with the werewolf, not the werewolf, when Pitafi had exchanged brains with Quentin.
Right.
And when that was resolved, a brilliant stroke was to play Quentin's theme to show the fans, I'm back. You know, and that was powerful, very powerful. Nothing like that here with Ode to Angelique. It's just something, it's just something the morose, depressed lovers play in the background to think of masochistic relationships they never had or never should have had or never would have had. And it's cute at first. It's cute at first because they have that other version. They have that other version, and that's cute. But then after a while, all that piano droning, and unless you're a Liberace fan or Carmen Caballero, Oh, there's Carmen Cavallero. He raised his hand at Carmen Cavallero. You're not going to, it's going to, it's going to sink. And I think that's what happened. And that was probably the worst thing they could have done in terms of Sybil Weinberger with her music. And with her music, it was just, what's his name was just probably, Covert was probably saying, I want this on, I want this on, I want this to be the new Clinton's theme. Didn't work out.
I'm Austin Lugo.
I'm Andrew Harp.
This is With Nothing to Say. And let's talk about movies. With over 3,000 films log, Andrew and I, best friends since middle school, have dedicated our lives to watching, making, and talking about movies. Each week, Andrew and I handpick a movie he's seen, I've seen, or neither of us have seen, and dive deep into anything and everything two wannabe cinephiles could ever think of. From horror to dramedy, we do it all. So join us as we talk about everything movies, and maybe you too can become a bona fide cinephile.
Okay, this brings us to the end of the AngeliqueAlexis podcast. Next month, we'll be covering Dark Shadows episodes from June 1970 to July 1970, and they would include episodes 126 to 1070 or 1070. Of course, next week we'll be covering our books and screens, which will be From Beyond by H.P. Lovecraft and the film From Beyond from 1906. Our remake, we'll be doing Dawn of the Dead, the George Romero classic, and we'll also be doing the Jack Snyder remake of the film of the same name. And of course, the 80s, we'll be going back into the 80s, very 80s style, with Night of the Comet and Night of the Creeps. So what I'm going to say is good night for myself, and thank you, Patrick, for joining us. Good night.
My pleasure.
Good night, Tom.
Good night, everybody. And thanks for taking me in.
And good night, Vicki.
Good night, y'all.
And we'll see you next week for From Beyond with H.P. Lovecraft and the film